Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Friendly Wager. This is the place where betting leads to bonding. I'm one of the hosts, Gator, joined by KOB, Keat on the beat, and the one and only, the Total Package. Boys, what's going on?
Gator, what is happening, my man? Sorry, I was a little bit busy filling out all my tax documents from all the winnings from Vegas this past weekend. But I'm live now, and I'm ready to talk some football, baby.
I like it. Big week in Vegas. Package, what do you got? How was your weekend?
I can confirm that KOB did in fact, have a big weekend in Vegas on the tables. I went and played Let It Ride. My tried and true lost 100 and went to bed. I'm old, man. I'm 44. Can't handle Vegas with these young cats. Gator did okay on the football game. Just doubled up to catch up. Sunday night football. Old Kenny Pickett came through for the old package. Saved the whole weekend. Can't wait for this one coming up.
It's not a gambling weekend if Package isn't chasing a break-even week late. KOB, how did you do gambling-wise?
You know,
now separate football from the card table now, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with Package. We rode Kenny Pickett hard, played him with the spread, money line, and plus 150 for way more units than I should have, and it turned out to be a winner. I ended up making some money on the weekend with football. Saturday was a little rough go. College, NFL was pretty decent.
Yeah, and there's a rumor all the way down here in Texas that the Baccarat table was hot for old KOB.
Oof. Oh boy, it was steamy. There was flames flying everywhere. They're like, "Who is this guy?" I mean, they didn't want me to leave. I was making everybody at the table money, and that's all that matters. I'm a giver, okay? Now, it comes with some benefits, but I was trying to win everybody else money, okay?
Gator, quick funny story, and then we'll hop into it. But I got to go to the Raider game on Sunday night. I get back to the casino, 11:30, and there's KOB. So I sat down. I said, I'll play a little baccarat. I pulled out 100, and they go, this is a $200 minimum table, sir. I was like, well, see you later. I'm going to go to Let It Ride and play $20 a hand. So KOB was ripping it up.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like y'all had a great weekend. My weekend, on the other hand, was, average. I guess you could say as far as the record goes. Went 1-1-1 in college football, but we'll dive into this in a little bit. But a huge 5-unit play for Oregon for me, which made that Saturday A-OK. Then went 2-1 on NFL posted plays. And just scratched out to where we made a little bit of money on the old weekend. But as everybody knows, we do talk a lot of football here on the Friendly Wager, but we are a complete sports show with the emphasis on gambling. So we got to jump into the Ryder Cup, guys. Ryder Cup begins this week. We have storylines and matches that we all want to see. And I think the biggest storyline we're going into is a 30-year drought for Team USA to win on the European soil. If there's a year to do it, I think this is it. Package, kind of what do you thinking the chances are for Team USA to pull it out this year?
The only reason I think they do have a chance is because if you pretty much anyone you talk to thinks the Europeans are going to roll them. So it makes me think that obviously the public's not right very often. The USA might have a very applicable shot to get it done this year. Now, do I think they will? Absolutely not. And that has nothing to do with loving this country. When it comes down to 3 days of golf, I'm not a fan of Zach Johnson, the way he's handled all this stuff. There's a part of me that hopes the USA gets throttled.
KOB, what are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to end that storyline of 30 years. There's a reason it's been 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Package said, just the way it's came about. And then you hear the story of Justin Thomas attending Zach Johnson's fundraiser after playing in a golf tournament just to cuddle buddy him. It makes more sense as to why he was kind of picked. I don't like the USA team. Now the line has gotten a lot closer. I think for a reason. If I'm going to play anything, it's going to be Europe.
Well, I
And real
like that.
quick,
Package, you had your
did
hand up.
anyone
Go
see
for
the
it.
picture? Did anybody see the picture from the team plane?
Oh,
Anybody
yeah.
see that picture? I know some of
I
the fans did.
I did.
Anybody missing? Anybody missing off the picture? Brooks Koepka wasn't even on the dadgum jet. Are you kidding me? Of all people. And it's not like we're catching an 8:30 out of Bush Intercontinental. It's a private jet. You can't say, oh, you couldn't fly at that time. Come on, man. You're a team. And it just happens to be the only live player didn't make the flight. I'm not buying any of it. I think it's a load of crap. And let me tell you something. Brooks Koepka's over-under on points is 2. 2 for the Ryder Cup. I want to hit it with everything I got. Z might not play until singles. Is Zach even going to play him? I'm telling you, Zach Johnson, 0, F- so far on his captaincy. I don't like it.
And that's why I think the only chance
That
we
ran
have
over.
is if it's tied going to singles and Brooks Koepka's in that last match, which I don't think Zach Johnson has the nuts to put him in that final pairing. But if we can get Brooks Koepka representing Liv and Nike everywhere, come down to the final stretch on 18, he might win it for the U.S. team. But I don't think they'll be in that spot.
Yeah,
They
no,
won't put him there. They're not going to put him there.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And and just going back to the actual golf part of this, the biggest worry for me for Team USA is just hitting the fairways on this golf course. Going to be so crucial, and we just don't have other than like Harmon or whatever. There's just the driving accuracy is a huge deal, especially when you get Spieth and JT paired up together.
And
then
last little take on my end, Wyndham Clark comes out and says, oh, I want a piece of Rory. Have some respect, Wyndham. You've won one big event. I know the reigning U.S. Open champion. We all get it. But Rory McIlroy is a Hall of Famer. Have a little respect, partner. Don't come out and slinging and talking all this crap. Dude, I don't like anything about the U.S. team right now. I don't like how JT, to KOB's point, I don't like how JT was handled. I mean, the only person I'm really pulling for on Team USA right now is Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth. But outside of that, I think Harmon gets throttle job. Wyndham Clark, I hope he gets his shit pushed in. And my 2 favorite bets are Tommy Fleetwood over 2 points and Justin Rose over 1.5. Those are my top 2 hot takes. Book it.
Well, move it into Rory. We've talked plenty about JT and his record and should he be on this team or not. But one of the underlying stories is this going to be kind of the first year going to a Ryder Cup where Rory is going to be the veteran leader right next side to Justin Rose. With no Poulter, Garcia, and Westwood, we'll see how Rory can pull together and be a leader for this Team Europe. His record's 12, 12, and 4. It's nothing stellar, but we'll see if he can rally the troops and go and lead them away to a victory there for Team Europe. And then
one thing, Gator, it's not that hard to rally troops with the squad that he has. I mean, what is he going to do? Their games are so stellar, and I'll tell you, the one person I'm looking forward to and how he handles the pressure is Ludwig Aberg.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Will Doctors, what's Will Doctors' boy?
Yeah, I know, and I think he's the first rookie to make the Ryder Cup as a rookie. Is that right? I don't know if y'all saw that anywhere.
Yeah,
first year on the PGA Tour makes the Ryder Cup or something crazy. But I just want to see how he handles it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a perfect segue into where I wanted to go to next, KOB, which was talking about both these teams. Team Europe has 4 rookies, along with Team USA. And if you look at the set of rookies, who has the better rookies on the squad. You talked about Ludwig, Texas Tech, Red Raider coming in, play college golf half the year, representing the team. What do you got, Package? You got your hand up. Let's go ahead and call on you.
Oh, that was
no. I was just putting up the guns up, baby.
I got you.
I'm a big fan of Ludwig.
Yeah,
big fan.
Well, we'll go ahead and roll it to you then. Package, between these 2 teams of rookies, who do you think has the advantage, Europe or United States?
I don't think it's going to matter as much. Obviously, it will on Sunday singles, but I don't think the rookies are going to have that big of a impact on the team matches, to be quite honest with you. So I'd call it a knock-knock push. But I think you have to give the edge on papers to Team USA with the rookies.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting thing is seeing what Zach Johnson and company decide to do as far as who's playing what and who they're pairing together. I think that's going to be the storyline that we're going to see leading into the first day of matches. Let's go into. I'll go ahead and start this off. It's singles day. There's one match that you want to see. And if anybody says anything other than Brooks Koepka versus Rory, final match Sunday, is out of your mind. Does anybody disagree with that, or is there another type of match you're looking forward to see the most in singles?
I want to see Wyndham Clark versus Rory coming down the stretch.
Wyndham
I
versus
do.
Rory. Hey, Wyndham.
Let's see it.
You a big boy, Wyndham? You a big boy? We're going to throw you out last against Rory McIlroy. Easy to talk. Let's go see it perform in front of thousands upon thousands of people playing for your country. Wyndham.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these matches come up and making some wagers once we see how everything goes through. All right, so here we go. We're going into your pick right now, KOB. It looks like you can get Team USA at minus 115, Team Europe plus 100, or the good old tie at plus 1100. Where are you going, KOB?
It's scary that the tie is that bad of a value. There's no way this thing ends in a tie. I have to take Team Europe plus 100 for what's my limit at this point, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be very shocked if Team USA pulls it off.
Package, what do you got?
KOB is sitting on a big pile of cash. He can just pluck 100 from under his calf muscle. I'm playing. Look, I'm going to load up. I'm loading up on Team Europe. And, you know, there's some people on social media that are really giving, I guess, some handicappers like us with a podcast a hard time for not supporting the USA. But look, we're all proud Americans, of course. But this is a golf tournament. This is a golf match. So some of this is tongue in cheek. But I like their setup better. I like their squad better, team unity. I'm going with Team Europe.
Yeah, I think if you just go off trends in history, the easy play on paper is Team Europe for sure. The only thing that has me kind of second guessing that is this is a really long layoff for most of these guys from Tour Championship to teeing it back up for the Ryder Cup. You know, Hovland was the hottest player in the world. With this big of a break of really competitive golf, you know, is that juice still flowing? Could JT find something? Who knows, right? So that's the only thing that worries me a little bit. But if I had to put 100 on something right now, I'm going Team Europe for sure, just for pure value in the paper bet right there, right?
I agree. Yeah. I think this is a reset moment for all the players. I don't think any of the trends that we had 4 weeks ago, I think, are out the window. So it's going to be a clean slate, and playing for their country should be fun to watch.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and pivot into some college football with a Week 4 recap. We wouldn't be doing anybody any favors if we didn't touch on the Colorado-Oregon game.
Oh, baby. Total package. You can't be more of an idiot. I mean, just rewatching that last podcast was so hard to listen to. Oh, Colorado upset number 5 in the country. They looked like a peewee football team. And then when we talk about next week, it would be like, I like Colorado against USC. Do you? Do you now? I mean, when are you going to learn they're not a top 5 team in the country? They can't perform on top levels. Go Oregon Ducks. Best play of the week. I mean, by a mile. I think.
You know, Coach Prime and I, a lot of career parallels when he was dominating the NFL. I was dominating the Houston Golf Association golf scene here in Houston,
scored
Texas.
6 points.
So, you know, we've had parallels throughout our career. So I think Prime and I are kind of one
Justin Fields out there. They look worse than Zach Wilson.
Look, like he said, it was a good old-fashioned butt whipping. I'll raise my hand. That was a good old-fashioned
absolutely. That goes back to
had a lot of belief in Colorado. We found out
for me last week was definitely Oregon.
Pretty quick that they are not on the national stage yet. They don't have the athletes to compete.
To me, that was the lock of the week. There was no way that Colorado should be able to stay on the field with them.
How can USC not
Final
win?
score is 42-6
as well.
Oregon could have scored more.
I'm riding Colorado one more time.
Sanders had
just so I can talk some crap next week. That's the only reason. Just in case they come off and win. Oh, baby, I keep receipts too. Just like my man, Coach Prime.
Well, you have Shedeur Sanders here that went 23 of 33 for only 159 yards.
That's our Heisman Trophy winner, guys. God dang, look at that.
Yep, he
Yeah.
had
Joe
one
Montana
touchdown.
couldn't complete a pass with that offensive line.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like if you look at his average pass attempt was only 4.8 yards and he was sacked 7 times. You start looking at the Colorado liabilities, right? It's the offensive line. They've given up 22 sacks in 4 games. And that is by far the weak link. They don't have the skill set there to compete with these more athletic teams.
They're not a top national football program. So
And
whoever's buying in on Colorado has no rhyme or reason to, especially after that display.
they could be 0-4. Let's be serious here. If Nebraska's
Yes.
quarterback can hang on to the snap, they could very easily be 0-4. But they're 3-1. They're in a great spot to go to a bowl. If you can do that in year one, as Dion said, get me now. This is the worst we're going to be. I believe him. And let me tell you, about 360 days ish from right now, don't doubt that old Dion's going to keep that little receipt from that ass kicking they just got when they play Oregon next year. Look out for the Buffs next year. But this year, yeah, they're not a top 25 team.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's kind of what you would expect too. They got the skill positions in the transfer portal, got them in this go around, and they're definitely going to attack the offense and defensive lines there next year. So I think they'll definitely be more of a contender going into it.
They
Yes,
need a
and
young Gator. They need a young Gator playing for them.
Oh, absolutely.
and I'm officially 2-2 against the spread against the Colorado Buffaloes, and we're still going to keep firing the other side.
Yeah. We'll talk about the USC game here in a little bit. I'm sure we got some good takes on that. All right, we're going to move into Bama versus Ole Miss. This was the big question mark on how Bama was going to rebound after last week's debacle at the quarterback position. And KOB, your boy, Jalen Milroe, came out and actually had a pretty decent game, 17 of 21, 225 yards, a touchdown with 1 interception. What did you think of his play, and do you think he's solidified the starting spot for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to go with Jalen Milroe for the rest of the season. But Ole Miss, let's be honest, was this really a defining game for them? For Alabama, yes, it was. But playing Ole Miss, you could see the ranking matchup. They almost lost to Tulane, and is Ole Miss that good? I don't know. They'd probably kick the hell out of Colorado, but is that a good comparison to set the standard for Alabama Crimson Tide and Saban in that locker room saying, well done, boys, we beat Ole Miss? Like, I just don't think that's the answer. Now, did they look good? Yes, and they needed that. And so Jalen Milroe, definitely the starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think also one of the deals that Bama's facing is not only is a quarterback play, but historically they've had an absolute elite offensive line over the years with 2-3 guys every year seems to be coming off that offensive line playing in the NFL. In this season so far through 4 games, they've already given up 16 sacks. So I think that's a huge reason of why they're struggling at the quarterback position. Package, what did you think of Jalen Milroe's performance against Ole Miss this week?
I mean, I don't think anyone that watched the ball game could sit there and say they were impressed. I think half the reason they're giving up so many sacks, at least 30% of the reason, is the quarterback doesn't know where to go with the football. I think he holds on to the ball a lot longer than Bama quarterbacks have in the past. So obviously he's the best athlete and the best option they have on the Alabama roster this year. And they would obviously Saban knows that and would be remiss if he started one of the other two players. So I think it'll be it's going to be Milroe for better or worse. And I thought Ole Miss had the ball game in hand out of the gate. They just couldn't move the football. I thought Jackson Dart played a horrendous second half. I felt bad for him. I know it was a big game for him. And, and Bama got another win against Lane Kiffin.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, the storyline at the end of the year is going to be, what does Bama do at the quarterback position? Are they hitting that transfer portal up and snagging them a guy? All right, let's move into Texas versus Baylor. This was the game I was wanting to see this week. How was Texas going to play against a team that they should handle easily? They came out hot, winning 38-6. Quinn Ewers has a pretty decent game, 18 of 23 for 293, a touchdown. And the stat that jumped out most to me for him was 12.7 yards per attempt in the air. To see him actually airing it out and going for it was something that I personally love to see. And they also, got it done on the ground. Jonathan Brooks, 18 carries for 106 yards at 6 yards a clip with 2 touchdowns. it was an all around good performance that I saw from Texas. And their defense, I think seeing it through this far, they're elite. 5 sacks with an interception by Jalen Ford. And it was the game that, for me as a Texas fan, wanted to see coming into Baylor and lay in the wood. Package, I know you're a big Texas guy. What did you think of the game? And are you looking forward to the rest of the year?
I was more. This is going to sound crazy. I was almost more impressed with this game than I was when they played Alabama.
Yeah.
I know obviously that was a much bigger ball game, but Texas plays down to their opponents so bad. At least when they've had a chance to maybe become a top 15, top 10 team, and they laid the hammer down on the Baylor Bears, and
Yeah.
I loved every second of it. We looked fast. We threw the ball down the field. We ran the ball great. Our defense looked dominant, as it should against that level of competition. So part of being a big time program and a top 5 team, you look back to the Vince Young era, we blew out all the average teams. So it was good to see the Horns do that on Saturday.
Yeah. KOB, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, I mean, y'all pretty much said it all. I think they solidified their dominance. That's how they should have played against Baylor, and that's how they did. And so it's good to see. And look out, hook 'em horns. That college playoffs isn't out of the reach for them.
Yeah, no, I think they're trending the right way. And if you're a huge Texas fan, years past, you talked about VY, and you could go Colt McCoy, right? Two elite quarterbacks back to back that were able to overcome some of the defensive struggles that they had in those years. And to see a defense this elite at the University of Texas is just something that is fun to watch, and you feel like you can actually hold teams to. It's not a shootout every single game. You can win with the defensive game.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into. I'm gonna go on for a little rant here. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Ohio State comes out late, wins the game 17-14. It was a great game for both teams. You have the young Kyle McCord coming up for Ohio State. Stepped up with the winning drive to win a big game for Ohio State this year to keep them undefeated. KOB, what did you take on this game before I dive into the final few minutes?
It wasn't a fun game to watch, to be quite honest with you. Very, very defensive heavy,
Yeah.
which was almost expected. A lot of running. Did I buy the hook? Yes. Winner. But, I really wanted Notre Dame to win that ball game. I thought they deserved to win that ball game, especially how they came out in the second half. It sucked. It sucked I have no emotion built into any of these teams, but I want Notre Dame back into the picture, and I think they deserve to be back in the picture. Ohio State, Alabama, and that's kind of why I like this trend is going, is newer teams or bringing back an emergence of teams that have been there 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I want something different for college football, and I think Notre Dame winning that game would have made that happen. So I don't know. It was kind of boring to watch, but good job, Ohio State.
Yeah, I totally agree with you too. There's a handful of programs that you think college football, and you just hope we can get them back. The Notre Dame's, Miami, Texas, USC, Nebraska. If you can get those teams, and I think college football is trending that way with the transfer portal. We're there to where there's 10, 12, 14 teams that have a viable chance to actually make a playoff run and win a national title. Package, before I go on a little rant of how this game ended, what did you think of that game?
Oh, can I tell you, it was great 4 quarters of football. Obviously, more defensive dominant than I think anybody thought. Definitely than what Vegas thought. If you had any type of over in that game, it wasn't even competitive. But boo on the Irish fans. Rush the field in protest. There had 10 men on the field. Just rush the field, take down the goalpost. They couldn't have kicked the extra point to push the game. Come on. If we had action and we were in the stands, we'd have rushed. They only lost by 2. Winner on the bet. Come on.
Yeah.
That's why you buy the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
not everybody. Hey, not everybody's as good as you, KOB. Okay? I had just at 3. Come on.
Yeah, I had them at 3. And imagine if you caught them right before kickoff and that line went to 2.5, and how mad you'd be. We at least got the push on our end, right? And that leads me to go into this rant here. Let's talk about the poor clock management on the Notre Dame coaching staff going into the final 4 minutes of this game. Notre Dame gets the ball on their own 11-yard line with 4 minutes and 12 seconds left. Ohio State has 2 timeouts. The first play, 12 yards, first down. We're going to knock another 40 seconds off the clock. Second play, 11 yards, first down. Clock is still ticking. When they got that second first down, I'm sitting there hopping on the book looking for my next play. I'm counting the money. It's there. Then this is when everything just kind of blows up for Notre Dame. They get a 5-yard loss on the next play. Ohio State calls their first timeout with 2:28 left on the clock. Now it's second and 15, and they throw a screen pass that's incomplete, and they get the clock stopped. Just run the football there, and you get another timeout, and then you can go run it again on the third down, get another 40 seconds go, and you're kicking away with Ohio State gets the ball with less than a minute left that they have to drive the field with no timeouts. It makes no sense to me why they would throw that ball and not make them burn the timeout going into that. And then the rest is history. Ohio State goes down the field, 3-yard line. Notre Dame calls a timeout, and you come out of the timeout with 10 guys on the field for them to go score.
Yeah,
we should have never been in the situation of the 1 second.
They had 10
the last two
twice.
plays.
Last two plays, only had 10 guys on the field.
Yeah. I just don't get. It's easy to talk crap about this. Of course, it was horrendous. I just don't understand. This is level 1 stuff. And you talk about how many football games these guys have coached. And it goes from the head coach all the way down to the coordinators. Like everybody on the staff is watching what's going on. But on the offensive side, Gator, you touched on it. I mean, really bad play calling there. You got to bleed way more clock. But they know that. They know that. And I guess I just didn't understand what they were thinking out of really. That's when I would really want to be with a media badge after the game and go, Coach, what were you thinking? Because I can't understand. And obviously inexcusable to have 10 men on the field. How does that happen? Twice.
After a timeout, yeah. And that's the thing, right? You're sitting there.
Where's the defensive captain counting? Like, somebody's got to be out there. Like, somebody has to notice this, right?
Yeah, it's just one of those things you just never quite understand it. You didn't need to get another first down. You made the yardage. You were where you needed to be. Just burn the clock. No timeouts left, less than a minute. You're going to win that ball game 99 out of 100.
90.
So that's my rant. Yep, that is my rant on Ohio State Notre Dame. Luckily, we got them at 3. We didn't get them at 2.5 and get screwed like a whole bunch of people did. Thank goodness we played that early in the morning and caught it at 3. All right, let's go ahead and move into Week 5 matchups. There's a handful of great games this week. You're going to have Utah, ranked number 10, versus Oregon State, number 19. You have LSU at 13 versus, Ole Miss, who slipped down to 20 this week. But the first game I kind of want to talk about, we don't have to go too deep into this, but is the Notre Dame versus Duke game. And I want to see how Notre Dame bounces back off that heartbreaking loss. And then I think this is the game we're about to see. Is Duke the real deal or not? Because I think Notre Dame's the real deal. What is Duke? Package, what do you think about this game? Anything you're looking forward to?
I think on paper, your initial response is, well, Duke beat Clemson. I mean, they should be the real deal. Right. Yeah. But if you watch that ball game, Clemson had 4 or 5 turnovers, 3 of them inside the 10-yard line. So, against that upper echelon competition, trying to take that jump. So I think Duke is between, 16 and 25 in the nation. I do. But I believe Notre Dame's a top 5 program this year. So is Duke that good? We're going to find out Saturday night. I can't wait for this ball game. The unknown is always so fun. It's not good for gambling, but it's great to be a fan. And I think we're going to get to see some fireworks. And we'll see, I think Notre Dame will bounce back fine. They've got better athletes, I think, on the field than Duke. But Duke gets them a win. Whew, it would be a program changer. It really would.
It would be a program changer. KOB, you have any thoughts or feelings on this game?
Just like you said, they beat Clemson out of the gate. That was great. Week 1 catastrophe, and we've talked a lot about Clemson. I thought the line would be slightly bigger than 6 points, I think is what I looked at. It makes it a little bit interesting that does Duke actually have a chance to beat Notre Dame? And it's going to be a great game to watch because I think Duke's defense they looked spectacular against Clemson. You can say, oh, they turned the ball over, but I think Duke forced a little bit of that too. And so they had bodies flying everywhere against Clemson, and that was a top 10 program. Probably not this year, but you can see Duke. They have the talent level to compete, and are their bodies big enough? Is this another Colorado-Oregon matchup? We don't know, and it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought Duke's athletes compared to Clemson's were very comparable, which is a big thing. The speed of the game, you know, like Colorado, you can see it very clearly from just a fan standpoint here watching on TV. But you know, Duke, I thought held their own athletic wise in that ball game against Clemson, but Clemson might not be any good. So you know, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think this is the most exciting game to watch. And then the one I'm most worried about is Texas versus Kansas. You know, Kansas are ranked 24th. They're putting together a pretty good season, and this is a step up from Baylor. And I just want to see, can Texas do it 2 weeks in a row? They should win this game handedly with no problem. And I just want to know, what are we going to get? I think for my personal psyche, if Texas comes out, beats Kansas like they should by a couple touchdowns, I'll be a 100% believer they're going to the college football playoff. Package, what are you thinking on this game? Are you worried about anything?
I love Jaden Daniels for Kansas. I think he's resurrected their program almost single-handedly and made him at least relevant in the college football landscape as far as possibly being right around a 25th to 30 ranked team in the nation and going to a bowl. And, you know, Kansas was a doormat for so long. So I'm really a big fan of his. I think Kansas might score 21. I really do, because they're going to be down 35, and I think they'll have some trash time. I love the over in this game, but the Texas Longhorns, this was a big, big game last week, guys. I'm telling you, it was huge for their psyche. There's another route job coming up. Go Quinn-Ewers.
KOB, what's your feeling?
Yeah, the Kansas Jayhawks. Big feeling in my heart. That was where I was going to go. College, Rock Chalk Jayhawks. It's cool to see them 4-0 in college football, because that was the most irrelevant sport on that campus. And so 4-0, do they deserve 24th ranked team in the country? Maybe, but they just can't compete with Texas Longhorns, and I think we're going to see it.
Yeah. Hey, Gator, definitely. Can you imagine all the girls that missed out on the KOB if he'd have gone to Kansas? Yeah, dude, all the friendly wager fans. If you went to Kansas, you know, about 8-9 years ago, we're sorry. Yeah, we're sorry that you didn't get one of the most decorated athletes and a handsome young man that got to go up there and pleasure all of you. Yeah.
And damn it, the luck. 24/7.
Yeah. You know? That's awesome. All right, well, we're gonna move into our final game. I want to kind of touch up on here for week 5, and we're gonna go ahead and say, Package, be careful on what you say here, because what you're about to say on this game could end up on Instagram and TikTok again and kind of take the world by fire on what happened.
Because of how much of a freaking idiot you are. But yes.
My grandpa said you can be really bad at something as long as you do it colorfully, okay? So
all right, that game is going to be the 8th ranked team, the USC Trojans, taking on Colorado this week. KOB, I'm gonna let you take this game. Is it gonna be close? Or are we looking at another route drop here?
I mean, let me just guess. Actually, let me settle in real quick. Let me guess. 99% of the money is all over Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Well, hey, I'm here to tell you the Colorado Buffaloes are about to get their ass kicked in the dirt at home at Boulder for the first time this season. And then maybe just maybe a tenth of the million bandwagoners will fall off the bandwagon. They can't even compete with Caleb Williams and the USC Trojans. It's not going to be close. It's going to be a 35-42 point ball game, unless they make some changes from Oregon. But their athletes just can't compete with a top 10, top 5 team in the country. Sorry, they just can't.
All right, let me ask you a question. If Colorado played Arizona State, what's the line? Arizona State's the doormat of the Pac-12.
I know.
What's the line?
Colorado minus 20.
I'd probably say 7.
35.
I don't even know. I don't know if you can give Colorado that big of a
Even
spread.
if it's a pick 'em, Arizona State had USC on the ropes last week. They were only down, 10 or 13 at halftime. I'm just telling you, USC is more exposed because they can't play defense. Colorado, you will not see them get shut down like Oregon shut them down. Now, USC might drop 60 on them because I think everybody wants to shove it up Coach Prime's, you know what. So Caleb Williams is going to be a Heisman moment. All the eyeballs will be on him because they're playing Coach Prime. So look for Caleb Williams. I think he's going to have his best game of the year. I saw a funny deal on social. They said he could shoot one of his new Wendy's commercials before he has to throw a pass. He's going to have so much time back in the pocket, which is probably true. I think USC probably covers the game. I'm going over. I missed over last week because Colorado couldn't move the ball. I'm going over 70 on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the line right now for over under 73.5. The line originally opened up at 14.5. It's now right at the same line as Oregon at 21.5.
It's exactly the same almost, and the over-under is almost exactly the same.
Yeah, it is, and I don't think Colorado's going to be able to keep up with USC. USC's defense last year was terrible, but it has gotten a little bit better this year. Will Colorado be able to move the ball? I think yes, they'll be able to move the ball a little bit easier than what they did last week. They just won't be able to keep up with the absolute scoring fest that USC is going to get. Oregon didn't punt the ball at all, other than their fake punt that they pulled off. They scored touchdowns 6 out of 8 drives in a couple field goals. I mean,
Keith,
that might be the same
how
thing.
many points does Colorado score? Friendly wager. We're betting leads to bonding. Let's bond. Okay. How many points? What's Colorado's team totes? And then we might have a little wager here.
All right. I'm placing Colorado's team totes at 21.5.
You said they're not going to be able to move the ball.
They're not.
Well, they're going to have to score 21 points.
If the over-under is at 73 and the line's at 21, that's well under by 40 points. I bet you their team totes on the book is what, 30, 40? 30?
No, no, it can't be that much. No way.
It's gotta
y'all
be.
Continue. I'll tell you. Hey, I can tell you.
Yeah.
30, 51. No, it's probably around 21, actually.
I think so. But I think that is a very good line. But to my point, they scored a trash tutty with, 40 seconds left just to get on the board against Oregon. To my point, they're going to move the ball more than they did against Oregon. I think.
Yeah,
well, I mean, shit, that's hard. That's like
can't move it left.
How's that even yeah, that's not even a comparison. I mean, what do you want them to run it? Do you want them to run it backwards? I mean, God bless it, package. That was a hot take. Holy moly, they're gonna move it more than Oregon. Really? Okay.
I'll rephrase that. Substantially more. More. Okay. I think they drop at least 28. I'll take the over 21.5. That'll be another wager on my book Saturday. And it'll be another winner as well.
Yeah. No, I just looked at my book. They don't have anything for first quarter or first half lines yet, at least where I just looked. So we'll see what that is. But I think that 21.5 is probably a number that we would see there. And I think it comes down to USC is going to hang, in my mind, 40 to 50. It's can Colorado do the rest of the work to get to that 73?
Yeah.
Caleb throws for 400 plus.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things, too. Is it fair to Colorado? This is the third time that they're going into Colorado for the big noon game, right? You have game day. Everybody's going to Colorado. It's 3 out of 4 weeks here, right? And they got a target on their back, and I just don't know how they're going to be able to handle it week in and week out. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama, the history where you're getting the best out of everybody. I just don't know if they can handle it. There's not going to be a game that they can come into where that team's not trying to actually kick the shit out of them every single week.
I agree.
All right.
Agreed.
Before we jump into the NFL, I just want to take a quick minute. Let's just talk about, the college football playoff picture. There's so much parity kind of going on this year to where I honestly believe there's about 10 teams or so that can compete for a national title right now through 4 weeks. So I just want to go through around the horn here and just kind of pick your 4 teams right now that you could see being in the playoffs here at the end of the year. KOB, I'll let you kick this off if you want.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take Georgia number 1, I'm going to take Michigan, probably a solid one. I'm going to take Texas in the 4 spot. I think they've earned my respect.
Yep.
Package, cover your ears. Don't get too excited over there about that one. And the last one's hard, but I like
It's very
USC.
hard.
I like USC or Oregon.
Oh, okay. I think that's fair. You know, that 4 spot, you know, this is the last year of the 14 playoff. And I mean, boy, how good would it be if we're at the 10-team deal right now? There's going to
That's
be
what I was going to say. Wouldn't that be cool this year? It'd be amazing.
Unbelievable this year. And it just goes to say, like, there's the, you know, years past, you know who the 1 or 2 team, you can almost pick the national title game. You know who your top 1 or 2 teams are. This year's completely different. And there's going to be 4 or 5 teams that have a very legitimate argument to be into that Final Four that we're just not going to be able to see. Package, you want to go next, or you want me to take it?
Now I'll go. What I'm looking at here, which is kind of odd, you know, Oregon, USC, excuse me, Oregon, USC, and Washington all play each other. You know, Utah's in there too. Yep. I think all 4 of those teams are arguably, possibly the top 4, possibly, but they're all going to beat each other at some point.
Right.
Florida State plays less Dukes for real. Florida State has the easiest schedule coming in the ACC. I don't see them losing a ball game. I really don't. Even getting into the ACC championship, maybe, but they're by far the best team of any team they're playing for the rest of the season. They're going to be favored every game. So I like Florida State. Texas, absolutely 1-2. And then, you know, Michigan is going to come down to Michigan, Ohio State, of course. It's 1 game in the Big Ten, which I think blows. But it comes down to that game. It's early in the season right now. I think you have to take Michigan in that ball game. I do.
Yeah. And then who's your final team? Did you say 4?
That just like y'all said, that's where it gets a little bit goofy because I don't think Ohio State's in. You know, I think you can look at Penn State just a little bit. If I had to lay money on it, I'm going to say the Washington Huskies would be my 4th team. Right. I think the Texas Longhorns are going to be the number 1 seed, Gator. I really do. Hook 'em horns,
you
baby.
You don't have Georgia? You don't think Georgia makes it?
I don't. They should have beat last week by Notre Dame.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
They're not going to get out of the SEC. And I'll tell you, I just got a glance at the schedules before we got on, but I mean, they still have to go through Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida. I just don't think they can run through. They're not as dominant. And to go through the SEC undefeated, you better be amazing. And I don't think they've got a dominant team this year. I don't.
No, I mean, that's a hot take, you know, not having the SEC team into the Final Four, but hey, I think it could definitely happen. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to go ahead and start it off with Georgia. I'm starting it off with Georgia. You got the defending 2-time national champs. To me, the SEC's down this year. I think they have a fairly easy road on their side of the SEC conference here to make it through the playoffs. But
you think they're good enough? You think they're a good enough squad?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I don't think they've been tested. I don't know how much of a test they're going to get until late. They have the SEC title game. Who are they going to play? Who knows? It might not even be that difficult of a game this year. I'm not sold on everybody in the SEC. So we'll see how they are battle tested. But today, as of right now,
South Carolina had them by the nuts.
Yeah, they did. I just think you have to have Georgia in there just with kind of what's left. My next team is Texas. I mean, Coach Sark's getting it going, calling the plays. You got Quinn Ewers slinging the rock across the field. And to me, this is the first time in a long time that you can say Texas has an absolute elite defense and offensive front, which is what you need to be a top team in college football. So I have Texas in my number 2 spot. The only game that honestly is making me worried is OU. That's always a tough game, and OU looks a little better this year than what I thought they were going to be starting the year off. Next, I'm going into the Big Ten. What do you got?
No, keep going.
Okay. All right, I'm going to jump into the Big Ten next. You have it's Michigan, Ohio State. You can make a case for Penn State. You know, they're looking good, but it's going to come down to Michigan, Ohio State, and I think Michigan's got their number. Again, just like Texas, elite offensive line, great running game. They got an experienced quarterback. I think they beat Ohio State and get through winning the Big Ten. And then I know Package touched on Florida State. Before I go to my final spot, they're the team I'm leaving out. And the only reason why I'm leaving them out, yes, they have a very easy way through. I'm not a 100% believer in Florida State. They beat LSU, but what is LSU really? If we look at last year, they got blown out a couple games. Are they really a great team? I don't know. And they very easily could have lost to Boston College and Clemson the last 2 weeks. So I'm not 100% sold on Florida State. And I don't think there's any way in the world, as of right now, there's not a Pac 12 team in the Final Four. There's got to be a Pac 12 team. They're the best conference. And so that talks about Washington State, Utah, Oregon, USC. They're all great teams. But, after last week, I'm hanging my hat on the Washington Huskies. I believe they have the best offense in college football. They have receivers. You have to score 35 plus points to keep up with them. They're going to score points. Is their defense great? Who knows? Again, they've had a pretty weak schedule, but you have to score points. They're going to score points no matter what. I believe they have the leading Heisman candidate as their quarterback right now in Penix, and I just don't. I think Washington sneakily is the best team in college football right now. I just do.
Hey,
They're
if you drop 40, you don't have to have a good defense, right? Good.
You don't. No, absolutely. And even if you look, there's a stat I was looking at going through this. They pull their starters in the fourth quarter. Penix has thrown 10 passes in the fourth quarter this year, and he's been sitting. And they're hanging 55 and 60 points on everybody. And I think they're the real deal. And we'll see later on the season when they start playing everybody, the Oregons and USCs. But that's my Final Four going into it right now is Georgia, Texas, Michigan, and Washington.
I hope the BCS formula reflects, because I really do think the Pac-12, just for this year, I'm not saying this in broad terms, I think they have a more loaded conference than the SEC. I really do.
I do. I think that's the best conference.
They're the best conference in football. And it's going to be unfortunate because I think there's going to be a team that deserves to be in the top four that's left out because it's all around robin and they all play each other, just like the SEC's been for the last 10 years. But it's the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, and the worst thing that can happen to the Pac-12 is they all beat each other, right? Everybody has a loss, and then you get an undefeated Florida State team. You get an undefeated Big Ten, Texas, and Georgia. They're in, and there's no Pac-12 team in, which to me is a travesty because there's 4 teams there that can legitimately win the national title.
And they're all better than Florida State. They're all better than Florida State. I agree with that.
Yes, they are. Yeah. So that's just kind of where we're at. There'll still be something fun to go back and look at here in a few weeks as the season goes and see if our Final Four kind of change as we get to see the picture later on. But we'll go ahead and move into the NFL Week 3 recap here. And we got to start off with the Cowboys-Cardinals. All right, everybody came in this year saying the Cardinals were tanking. They're going after Caleb Williams. They come out and, to me, shock the world if you look at everybody's survivor pools, winning the game 28-16. And I think the one stat that jumped out at me when I go back and look at the box scores, the Cardinals had 222 yards rushing against the vaunted Dallas Cowboys defense. And to me, that was the shock of the game. KOB, what did you take away? What did you think? And are the Cowboys in trouble?
You prefaced the run game against the vaunted Dallas Cowboys defense. They could do whatever they wanted with that football. And it was almost embarrassing. That was not the same Dallas Cowboys we've watched the first 2 weeks. And then you see a little glimpse of Dallas. They score. It's a one possession game. And you're like, oh, boy, Dallas is coming back. You know what Packers and I did? We went and placed a live wager at the kiosk. Dallas -1.5. You just couldn't believe.
Winner.
Yes, you couldn't believe Arizona Cardinals were going to beat Dallas Cowboys. Well, here's what's missing for the Dallas Cowboys after watching that game. They're missing a go-to tight end in the red zone. And I hate to say this, but they're missing in Ezekiel Elliott, running back, that can just plow through people in the red zone. They had 4 possessions in the red zone, came out with 3 points, I think, in the second half. It was a monstrosity. It was horrible. It was terrible to watch. They need to figure out a plan for the red zone. I still think they have a solid football team. I still like their chances, but I think that awoke them a little bit about our red zone offense and who do we need or what do we need to be more successful in the red zone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, I think after the previous week of the Cardinals letting up a big lead, you were right. When it got within that one score, here come the Cowboys. They're going to
Yeah.
come over and take it over. Package, what did you take of that game? And, are we worried about the Cowboys this year?
I mean, their roster is still better than 80% of the NFL. They're still going to win 10
Yeah.
games. But I'm just telling you, the Cowboys want to win the Super Bowl, right? They're making the playoffs. Who cares? But you look at great teams. Tom Brady didn't lay eggs like this. Patrick Mahomes doesn't lay eggs like this. And if he does lay an egg for 3 quarters, he finds it in the 4th quarter. Great teams, great players, great quarterbacks find it. And Dak Prescott showed what we've known all along here for the last 10 years. He's not an elite quarterback. It's easy when you're up 30-0 to throw dump passes. But when the nuts are to the ground and he had to put a drive together, he couldn't punch it in the end zone. He doesn't make big time throws in big time moments, and he really never has. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL, but I think it kind of showed. I just don't think they have the magic sauce to win these big moment games, and they should have pulled that game out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, but Dak reminds me a lot of the of the Cousins aspect of it. Of can he make that big throw in the big time when it's needed? And you go back and look at it, it's 3rd and goal with 3 minutes left in the game. They needed a touchdown, and instead interception, right? And it's one of these classic games. You just look on paper, you didn't watch the game, look at the box score, and you see Dallas had 416 yards of total offense, but they only had 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. To
It's the
count
big
for all
time
that
plays.
yardage.
And I'd ask both of you the question: does Brock Purdy, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen? Well, Josh Allen had a couple bad games, but did they throw that pick inside the 15-yard line? They just don't.
Right.
They all score touchdowns. They
Especially
all
when it's
do
needed.
because they're elite.
Yeah.
They're elite, and Dak's not.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, Dak's just that middle of the road quarterback on paper and stats. When it comes to signing a contract, it's like, well, who else are we going to get? And
Great guy. I hate to talk trash.
Yeah.
But
but you're scared. You're scared to let
elite.
go. Yeah, you're scared to let him go because you're like, well, who can we get that's better? But he's never going to take you to the promised land either. And I think that's the biggest issue with the Dallas Cowboys is finding that guy that's going to take them over the hump and get them to the Super Bowl. That if Dallas doesn't make it to the Super Bowl, it's a failed season. And that's
the rest
just
of
the
their
way it
roster
is.
is really, really good.
Yeah. So we're going to go from one struggling offense to an offense that couldn't do anything wrong in the Dolphins playing the Broncos, an absolute embarrassing game, a 70-20 route job. Tua goes 23 of 26 for 309 and 4 touchdowns. This is by far the most explosive and fastest team in the NFL. And the crazy thing is they rushed for over 350 yards, and they had 4 plays that tallied over 50. I believe 2 plays were over 50 and 2 that were over 60 in this game. It was an absolute embarrassment if you're a Broncos fan. With Sean Payton, you see how he's handled the press the whole week, and I don't know what they're going to do other than getting away from Russell Wilson, just starting back over. But KOB, talk about this game a little bit. What did you take away? And overall, are the Dolphins a real deal? Do you think they're the contender, the team that everybody's got to go after this year?
What's more embarrassing than the performance of the Denver Broncos is trying to be a sharp bettor and playing Denver -6, and it was over after the first quarter, let alone probably the first half of the first quarter. That was horrendous. Like I sold the Denver Broncos, I'm not a fan, obviously, of Russell Wilson, but I didn't think Sean Payton could fix it, and I think the point's proven. They need a different quarterback. They need to start over. And yes, I do think, back to your question, I do think the Miami Dolphins are the real deal. They have so many wide receivers, so many outlets for Tua. Tua has looked just amazing. Knock on wood, he can stay healthy this year because he is putting up such impressive numbers. Tyreek Hill is putting up such impressive numbers. Mostert looks just as solid. And then they got this Devon Akane.
The A-Chain train.
Yeah,
A-Chain.
I mean, came out of nowhere. Their offense is just endless. The firepower they have is endless. You don't have to just stop Tyreek. You don't have to stop Jalen Waddle. Now you got to stop Mostert and A-Chain. and Tua on the ground. Like, you have all these. This looks like a team that's building into the Kansas City Chiefs almost. And can they compete with the Chiefs? Maybe. Their offense certainly can. They've impressed me since week one, and they haven't let me down yet with their offense. So I think Miami Dolphins are the real deal.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and you touched on the Broncos and kind of their failures a little bit too, and I think the biggest worry for me was last week. Peyton talks about Russell Wilson not picking up the verbiage of the offense and not fully getting a full grasp of it, and Russell's talked about not wanting to wear a wristband. Well, he needs to get that damn thing on because he's got to figure something out to try to get a spark in this offense. But Package, what did you take away from this game? I know that was the sharp play, right? Everybody play the Broncos because the whole entire world was on the Dolphins, and that was a game that Vegas definitely took a hit on. But what was your takeaway of that game? And are the Dolphins the leaders in the clubhouse right now to win the Super Bowl this year?
I was in awe, and I don't think I've seen a team that fast on the field arguably since the late 90s Rams with Kurt Warner.
Greatest show on turf,
Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk. But new age here, we love Mike McDaniel, but holy moly, they've got three guys that can take it to the house when they touch the ball. And you're lucky on another team to have maybe one. But you watch a team like Miami play, and then you watch a team like the Bears. If we coach the Bears, we don't have anyone that can take it to the house. They've got 4 guys over there, 3 or 4 guys. So I was very impressed. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan. I don't like how he handles the media. You just got your pushed in. Have a little sauce. Take your cap off like Coach Prime did. For him to pop at the media, dude, I didn't like it. Russell Wilson is washed. He's washed. And I think Sean Payton knows that. So I don't know how you get rid of Russell without taking a hit, but it's time that they need to tank for Caleb. And Keaton and I were talking about this in Vegas. You put Caleb Williams on the Broncos, I do think their roster isn't that far away. I think they've got
the roster's fine,
but they've got some position players that are there, even on defense.
Yeah.
No, they got 70 dropped on them, but they have a decent roster. So Russell's got to go, and go Miami. I can't wait to see what they do at Buffalo. If they drop 50 on Buffalo, the Bills Mafia is going to explode.
I think definitely, Peyton's got his back up against the wall. Russell's not his quarterback. He didn't sign this contract to him. I think definitely after this year, they don't be shocked if they look elsewhere for a quarterback and just take that salary cap hit.
He will not be starting week 1 in 2024.
Oh yeah,
Zero.
Not for Denver. No.
Yeah, maybe for the Jets.
Yeah, no, A-Rush coming back. Don't worry, Keith. And then, and before we jump to our next game, I just want to touch on, the genius of Mike McDaniel and kind of his whole allure of him coming in. He's an offensive genius. You could see it. Just his mannerisms on the sideline, and you see these mic'd up deals where he's talking to 2 on the sideline. It's hilarious, and it's just a different approach to NFL football as the head guy that we've ever seen. And the fact that, he was questioned, why didn't you go for the scoring, kick the field goal and try to go for the most points scored. And he just said it wasn't the right thing to do. It's not what we're here for. We hung 70 up. We're good. We're going to move on to next week. And that just speaks a lot. If there's a number of coaches we can say right now, Sean Payton was in that position. He's kicking the field goal and trying to hang his hat on something 100%. That he's doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
To prove a point,
to take away from.
To prove a point that needs to be proven for him, though. McDaniel doesn't need to prove any more points.
No, I think he's proven himself to be the best NFL football coach right now. And he's taken over that young gun role that McVay was so known for.
Yeah. Last little topic here on this to touch on, but I always told Keaton, I like a confident, I'm more of the Dan Campbell, and I still am. But I like these guys that Mike Vrabel, I like that look on the sideline. Unless you're just too cool like Mike McDaniel. Because I tell you what, I'm a huge fan, and what a job he's doing in Miami. Can't wait to see the rest of the season. Let's hope everybody stays healthy.
Yeah. I think that's what their whole season hangs on, right? If Tua stays healthy, they're going to be. I think you're going to see them and the Chiefs in that AFC title game to go to the dance for sure. All right, and let's jump into our hometown boys. The Texans took on the Jaguars with a big win, 37-17, where the Texans, they looked dominant the entire game. And to me, this was CJ, we talked about last week a little bit of he's been showing pretty good progress, but this is kind of this coming out party for me. Went 20 of 30, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, still no interceptions in 3 weeks. And this was the game where, to me, from when they first got the ball to when they finished the game, he had complete command of that offense and knew where the ball was supposed to go and didn't make any crazy plays, mistakes, when trying to make too big of a play at any time, got rid of the ball when you needed to. And it just jumped out to me that entire game. This is a real guy, and I think the Texans got their quarterback here for the next 10 plus years. I'm sold. And just a little deal they posted at the end of the game. This is the third most passing yards with 906 in the first 3 games by a rookie starting quarterback. So, package. What did you take from that game? Are you high on CJ? And is this something positive to see for the Texans moving forward? And you think they're going to get a couple more wins now that you saw what they did to the Jaguars last week?
Not only do I think they're going to get a couple more wins, I think they might win the dadgum division. Are you kidding me? What? I said it. I think they might win the whole division. A complete ball game from the opening kickoff to the finale. CJ Stroud had complete control. I will raise my hand. I have not been a fan through 2 games of CJ at all. Have not been impressed. Wow, that was a different guy out there against Jacksonville. I'm sorry. The game looked like it just slowed down for him. A couple bomb jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't force the ball, just like you said, Gator. Great analysis. But all of a sudden here, you kind of look around at the landscape. Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill look washed. Right. They just dominated Jacksonville. And now we just got to worry about my man AR-15 or AR-5 right. now. So, hey, does the division come down to the Texans and Indy with 2 rookie quarterbacks? Overreaction time, but I'm telling you what.
Yeah. KOB, what was your take on that game? Did you get a chance to watch the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, I was a fan of CJ Stroud from the get-go. That's who I wanted for the Texans to get. The first couple weeks were a little shaky. Last week he looked pretty good. But the thing that stood out to me most in this past week is taking 0 sacks. He knows when to get rid of that football, when to throw it away. He's getting out of the hands quicker when he sees pressure. He's reading the defense a lot better. And so for CJ Stroud to stay in that pocket and now have a ton of confidence getting his first NFL win, Houston, Texas, I don't think package is far off from this. Division against the Texans and the Colts, holy smokes. I mean, you take a time machine to talk about that. So this is pretty cool.
Right here on the Friendly Wager, I just would like, I was wrong on CJ through 2 weeks, but I would like Keaton to apologize. He said Nico Collins was going to be the number 1 receiver on the Texans or one of the other ass wagons. It's clear that my man, Tank Dell, is the go-to guy. I think that became crystal clear here in week 3.
He's progressing. He's progressing up that leaderboard, but Nico still has him by a couple yards. But Tank did look good this past week.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's one of those things too. We're talking about the weapons that he has, and if he's doing this now, I mean, good night. If we start getting some serious number 1 receiver, it could be fun to watch here moving forward. And am I 100% confident Texans are going to – I think the Jaguars are still the favorite to win this division, clearly. But this game was trending the right way, and the defense to be able to get after the quarterback was fun to watch and kind of stop that run, which was promising to see, and I look forward to the rest of the games. It's something as a Texans homer, right, but a Jets fan, at least I got a team to root for this year, and we got something to look forward to. So let's jump into the Week 4 NFL matchup, starting us off with Thursday night Lions versus Packers. What are we looking for to this game? Are there any types of bets you're looking for? And package, what are you looking to take away from this game, for whether you're a Lions fan or a Packers fan?
When you look at this line, of course, Joe Pub in me says, I'm not impressed with the Packers. I think they'd have gotten drilled if Derek Carr didn't get hurt last week. Jordan Love's looked pretty good, but the Lions have a complete team. I think are one of the top 7 teams in the NFL. Can they go on the road and beat Green Bay? Absolutely. I like the Lions a lot in this spot, but I think everybody's going to like the Lions in this spot. So we'll see where the line goes and where the public's at. But out of the gate, I might just have to buck the sharp play here and go with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I agree. Go for it, KB.
Yeah. I mean, I you you can't argue that package. I totally agree with you. Do you want to play the sharp side? I think the line's at 1.5, so it's really a pick 'em game. And like he spoke, I was all over the Saints. I love their spot last week, and for Derek Carr to go out, I mean that was just horrendous. It was a winner until it wasn't, and they couldn't move the ball. Very depressing to watch. But little stat here: Jared Goff is 10-2 against the spread against the NFC North. I like that trend going to 11-2, and I will be all over the Lions. Don't care where the public's at; they're just the better football team.
Keith serving up a hot stat, baby.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, and the
That's
one
good.
thing, and from a betting standpoint too, you know, just if you go by histories and trends, right? Thursday night home dog, it's the bona fide stay away, but the point spread's so low, you can kind of justify going the route of playing Detroit. And Jordan Love, he's looked good, you know, better than I thought he would, especially through the first few weeks here. But I want to see what he's going to do. I think this is going to be a defensive front and some pressure that he hasn't gotten yet this year. We'll see how he's able to adjust and get the ball out of his hand quick enough. So if I had to pick right now, I'm looking at probably leaning towards the Lions at 1.5, and then maybe playing like a first quarter line or first half play once it gets there. I believe the over/under is 46, but I'd probably stay away because I can see that going either way.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have anything else in the Thursday night game?
I think it's going to be a good ball game. Anytime they play at Lambeau Field is kind of cool.
Yeah.
In prime time.
Absolutely. This is a huge game for, taking control of that division. You win this game, you're kind of in the driver's seat, looking ahead for the rest of the year. So a lot of fun things to look at for this game for sure. Moving into the rest of the week, we have the battle of the no-win teams, right? You got the Broncos playing the Bears, and then the Vikings versus the Panthers. We're going to have two teams get their first win this week. It's guaranteed.
About time.
Let's start Broncos versus Bears. You know, both teams haven't looked promising. You got two anemic-looking offenses. Who's taking the win here? We're just going heads up, no line. Broncos, Bears, KOB. Who you taking?
I think the NFL is going to lose money showing this on national television.
Say it. Just say it, Keith. I know you don't want to say it. Just say it.
I don't think anybody's going to even watch this game. Besides the total package, to watch Justin Fields throw about 2 or 3 interceptions and move it for 10 yards. I mean, this is going to be the worst game in NFL history to watch this season. But if I do have to pick somebody, yes, I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah. Grab your piñata. Grab your cupcakes. Something to serve them on, because this is Justin Fields' coming out party for fantasy football. Baby! Look out. Hey, after they just got 70 dropped on them, some would say, oh, here come the Broncos, their defense. But they're going to be no match for old Jay Fields. They're going to finally get him to run a little bit. Yard balls to DJ Moore. I've been waiting patiently for 3 weeks for him to get off the schneid. And this week, I'm going to sweep the board in fantasy football because my man Justin Fields, over 300, 3 total tutties. Let's get it on.
There was no surprise there on you, package. And I agree. I think this is the Bears' chance to come out and win. I'm not a buyer in the Broncos at all. Bears do have some talent. We've seen Justin Fields play well in the past. I think this is a game they can get through. And just kind of messing around while you were talking their package, looking at the line, it was plus 1.5. It's at plus 3.5 now. Bears. The fact that the Broncos are laying 3.5 points is even a bigger reason why I would play the Bears. And looking at the betting trends too, everybody and their moms loaded up on the Broncos right now. So if you want to fade the public, play the Bears.
And money
even
line.
better.
Oh, money line! I would money line them in a heartbeat, and not think twice about it. I think it's a great play for this week. And then going into the last game, there was the Vikings versus the Panthers. Andy Dalton comes in and looks like the Panthers actually have a little bit of offensive talent with Bryce Young out. Vikings, to me, are the shocking team at 0-3. Who are you taking? No line right now. Package. Who are you taking in that game? Vikings or Panthers?
I'm still a big believer. It's going to be a close game because Kirk Cousins is playing quarterback. So you know it's going to be within a touchdown. I still think Minnesota has a really, really, really good offensive roster, and they've got too much firepower for Carolina. I don't think that's a hot take. I think we all know that. But look for Kirk Cousins to finally get one done. And if you're Minnesota right now in that division, I don't think you're dead. I really don't. And I think they have enough, once again, offensive firepower to rattle off 6 or 7 in a row and still get to that 9 or 10 win mark. So they'll get their first one this Sunday.
KOB, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they go 1-3 to start, and then they're going to lose against the Chiefs, and they're going to be 1-4. They're going to beat the Bears, and then they're going to lose to the 49ers, just like I predicted. They're going to start 2-5 for the season, and so do they have a chance? I don't know. I'd argue that one. Played the Chargers on Sunday, and I got all hell broke loose against the package on the last pod because, when Kirk Cousins comes out and beats the Chargers, then what are you going to say? Well, they did. And so they're 0-3. I do think they get the win. I think the line's 4.5. 4.5.
4.5.
I'll play it if Bryce Young's starting. If Dalton's starting, I'd have to think twice about that one.
I'm telling you real quick on Minnesota, for argument's sake, when I said they're going to rattle off, not immediately, but I looked at this a couple of days ago. They've got Green Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans, Denver, Chicago in a row. Those are 5 games they'll be favored in, most likely. And then they have a bye, and then they have Vegas. So there is a chance for them to rip 6 in a row off in the season. So if they can clip one this week, beat Chicago, I still think they're a wild card team, and they can get to 9 wins.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Wouldn't shock me if the Vikings, rattle off in the middle of the season here, and definitely make a late playoff push. If you just take everything out and just look on paper, right? Vikings versus Panthers. Vikings have the superior talent at almost every offensive position. Going through, and you just got to think that they're by far the favorites. And the fact that the line's only, 4.5 to me is a little shocking. I thought this was going to be a touchdown and a hook type of game. But I would definitely play Vikings if Bryce Young's in. I would definitely throw a lot of money on the Vikings. I think they're a little bit more dangerous with Andy Dalton back there. I just do.
Bryce Young ain't going to score. Bryce Young can't even score against Minnesota's defense.
So that's just kind of where I'm at. I definitely think the Vikings are there if we're going to go that route. Jumping into, to me, what the package you talked about a little bit, but to me, this is the biggest game of the week is Dolphins versus Bills. Two great teams, high-powered teams with offensive weapons. Bills' defense is probably a little bit more dominant, you would say, versus the Dolphins, but we'll see how they can handle that speed. This is a game I'm looking forward to the most. KOB, what are you taking out of this game? Anything that you're looking forward to or any certain plays that you feel comfortable laying out right now?
The Bills, this is a huge game, not only for the Bills, but more or less for the Dolphins. I think they've shown their dominance, but if they can beat the Bills outright at Buffalo, then there's going to be a national headline, if there's not already, about the Miami Dolphins possibly winning the Super Bowl this year. Because we discussed it. The Bills lost week 1 to the Jets. Great. Now, are they going to pick it up and reinsert their dominance and show the world why they're that good? And they did. They blew out the Raiders and they blew out the Commanders last week. So this is another big test for the Bills. I think they need to win this ball game to continue their dominance. And if they don't win, there'll be some questions for Buffalo, but I think it'll be a better story for Miami if Miami wins.
Yeah, I agreed. I think the bigger picture here for the Bills, right, is just the implications for this division. You can't lose at home against the Dolphins because you got to go to Miami and play them later on in the year.
Yeah.
And are the Bills really going to lose 2 divisional games in the first 4 weeks, right? They lost to the Jets week 1.
Yeah.
Are they going to lose to the Dolphins? Just for playoff and winning the division, they can't lose this game. If they do, Dolphins, to me, have a stranglehold over the division, and it looks like they'll potentially could run away with it. Package, what's your take on the game?
I'm so excited to see what I think, like all of us in the public, are excited to see what Miami can do. They won a Corn Ferry event last week. Now they're going into, they're going to play they're going to play at Memorial. This is a big time tour event in a golf analogy world to go to Buffalo and the Bills Mafia. Oh my gosh, sorry. Dude.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Start over real quick. But going to Buffalo to handle the Bills Mafia, if Tua and the boys light it up and drop 35-42 and put on that laser show like they did last week, I'm telling you what, their foot is firmly planted as a Super Bowl contender. If they drop 10 or 13, it's like, they had things rolling against a bad team. This is big time against Buffalo, and I can't wait to watch. I'm kind of pulling for Miami, though.
Yeah, definitely. And, for personal reasons, I'm just not, I can't play the Dolphins. I got too much of a history with someone else on a yearly bet that we have. So I'm definitely pulling for the Bills. But I think the matchup we're looking to see for me is Von Miller in that defensive front can be able to get after Tua and wreak a little bit of havoc to get that ball out of his hand quicker and not let those deep balls have time to form, where it seems like Tyreek and those guys are able to make those big plays and kind of bust the game open. So I'm pulling for the Bills, but I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, and I'm going to do anything I can to make sure to watch this game cover to cover. Moving into one more game I want to talk about before we get to the Sunday night game, Texans versus Steelers. This is another big game, I believe, for the Texans that can come out. And this is a winnable game for the Texans. Package, what are you thinking on Texans versus Steelers? You think the boys can pull it out, or are you hanging your hat on old two gloves Kenny Pickett still?
I'm a classic overreaction guy. But I'm telling you, watching the Texans last week, I mean, the Steelers have a pretty good defense. They do. But is the same CJ Stroud going to show up? If so, they're at home. I don't see any reason why the Texans don't win this football game. Pittsburgh offense is not clicked at all hardly this year. They looked okay last week, but nothing like the Texans did against a good Jacksonville defense. So I'm leaning Texans. Homer, yes, sir. But I love Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. I'll probably play the over. It's too many fantasy implications. I need Pickett to go off too. So probably the over for me on the gambling side, but I think it's going to be a good football game in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I think that's a great deal too. And the line, I believe Texans are catching 3 and over unders 42.5. I know Package loves playing Texans overs, but I would probably, with the two defenses that are going to take off this game, I like that underplay. KOB, what are you looking at? Texans, Steelers, and do you think the Texans can pull this out?
Yeah, it's hard. I've been a Kenny Pickett to George Pickens fan all year long, and even in the offseason, looking forward to watching it. It's going to take a lot of me to bet against Pittsburgh, but I think we're in a good spot with the Houston Texans. Now, is it hard for me to bet the Houston Texans just because of the prior history of how bad this franchise has been? Yes. It's like, hey, the Astros are playing tonight. Do you want to play against them? No, I don't want to play against the Astros just because of what they've done in the past 4 or 5 years. They have a good roster. They can score, right? And so for me to press submit on the Texans is going to be a hard thing to do all season long. I'm not doubting their team. I'm not doubting the talent they have. It's just an emotional reaction that I have to the Houston Texans and the franchise that has been just horrendous. But who am I going to play? I'm buying the hook. Texans plus 3.5, and I kind of want to play it right now before the line moves.
Yeah,
let's go, KLB.
That line goes. Looking at that play, I mean, I think that the Texans are definitely, to me, if you're going to play a bet right now, if you can catch them at that 3, I think the line's only going to get closer to being more of a coin flip type game. I don't see it going over 3.5 by any means. Let's move into the Sunday night game, Chiefs versus Jets. KOB, you were talking about earlier, the NFL potentially losing money in the Broncos-Bears game. But if it wasn't for Taylor Swift going to be there at the game this week, this game might get turned off in the first quarter. But luckily, T Swift and Kelsey got a little thing going on, and we're going to get some casual fans tuning into this game, because I am worried that this could be an absolute bloodbath. No reason to watch, come out of halftime. Chiefs, Jets package, what are you taking away? And what are you looking forward to the most, if there is anything to look forward to in this game?
I'm looking forward to the Jets, Coach Saleh, putting together a good offensive game plan for one, Mr. Zach Wilson, and I think the Jets could possibly spring the upset. Oh my gosh, I said it. Talk about a hot take. They're going to get the ball to Breece Hall in space, shorter throws, get some completions, and take some deep shots to Garrett Wilson. The game plan has to be better. Zach Wilson is not this bad. I'm just telling you. But the offensive game plan they kept in for A-Rod. They've got to adjust. I think they will. Jets are up at halftime. Mahomes probably squeaks it out. Jets cover this game. I'm playing over team totes. I'm getting all my money back from the disaster at New England.
KOB, what's your thought?
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to put up 30 points. And unfortunately, the Jets can't score over 10. And looking at this line at 9.5, I don't think that math adds up to the Jets covering. Now, on the other side, this line needs to be about Chiefs minus 20, to be quite honest with you, to make it relevant. So do we fire the Jets plus 9.5? You might have to, because this should be a bloodbath. It looks horrendous. How do you not play Chiefs first quarter, first half game? And so I just can't. It's very hard for me to bet on Zach Wilson. He's horrendous. He doesn't need to be in the NFL. He doesn't belong in the NFL. He shouldn't be a starting quarterback, even if you say he belongs in the NFL. And I think he's proven that already. And so the New York Jets still have struggles at quarterback, and he hasn't proven anything otherwise. And so it's going to be very hard to pull for the Jets plus 9.5.
Get Brees Hall the ball.
Yeah, I agree. And I think 9.5, I was shocked to see it at 9.5. I was personally thinking it was going to be in that 10.5 range, and it wouldn't shock me with the amount of pub plays coming in on Kansas City. If it did jump to that 14.5 range, I wouldn't be shocked if it got there with how much money could potentially come in. But I think with the Jets, and we know we can beat the Zach Wilson drum, everybody has all week. The one thing the Jets do have is a great defense. I mean, they held New England to 15 points. You do that, they should have won that game against New England.
Right.
The defense is good. They're legit. Jets are probably my favorite underplay every year, every week right now, as this defense can keep this going. We're not going to score a lot of points. It's just not going to be there. But the line's at 42. Unless Kansas City scores 30, 35, I just don't know if 42 points are even going to be close to being touched this game. So I'm kind of leaning the under in that game. And the last thing, to me, the Jets are the Colorado Buffaloes of the NFL, right? Everybody, A-Rods are coming. We're number one play to win the Super Bowl. A-Raj gets hurt. We know the story, and here we are with Zach. Was the offensive line's terrible. I don't know if you can get Brees Hall the ball in space. I don't know if space exists with the way this offensive line's been working. And it sucks as a fan because I
think it does. I think it does, but they're going to spread the field a little bit. But if they think Zach Wilson's going to sit back there and pick apart a defense from the pocket, they're wrong. They got to get him. He needs to run the ball 6-7 times, 4 or 5 screens to Brees, 4 bombs to Garrett Wilson equals.
We can go get Taylor Heineke. Well, Ritter hasn't looked great. They're not going to get rid of Heineke for cheap or at all. And are you really going to go after a third string quarterback? At that point, we're stuck with Zach Wilson. It is what it is. We're going to ride him out. Trevor Simeon's nothing. We've seen what he can do. He's an interception king. And Boyle, you can't start anybody else but Zach Wilson the rest of the year, and you take what you get. And at least by the end of the year, the Zach Wilson experiment is either set or over. You cut him loose. A-Rush comes back for 1 year. We have an early pick, grab a quarterback, and let's move on for the future and see how it goes. So that's my rant on the Chiefs-Jets game. Y'all got anything else to add before we go into a buy or sell?
No, I'm looking forward to another week of NFL football. I think we covered all the good games, or the ones that I'm looking forward to. Am I looking forward to the Dallas New England game? Yes, because I'm way bought in on the Dallas Cowboys, and do they bounce back? They need to, and so we'll find out. 3:25 Central Standard Time.
There's lots of good games this week. We could go on and on for hours just picking apart all these games, but and I think the last thing too, right? You have Jaguars Falcons in London. We're going to get that early kickoff game. Do you like that early morning where you just get the full day Sunday action of football, or are you kind of anti London games, KOB?
Gator. I mean, is that even a question? If football's anywhere on television, that is on. And so, yes, if it's on, that's why I like the British Open so much. I mean, you wake up and the golf is on at 4 a.m., So if we can get a game at 8 o'clock, which we will, huge fan. You get one game, and then right when that's over, you think you're done. But no. We got a whole slate still coming. And so, yes, I'm stoked to watch that. Jacksonville versus Atlanta should be an decent game. Big fans of Bijan Robinson. So we'll see. But, yes, totally looking forward to those overseas games, bright and early, Sunday football, and we're live.
Yeah, no, and you got the Jaguars are the team that always goes over to London. And, they got back-to-back weeks there. And this week, there's no big advantage of going to London other than they've been there. They've done that every year. But to be able to have the ability to stay there, and then you got the Bills coming into town.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see how that advantage is with them going to London.
I want to fly over there after Jacksonville gets their candy asses whooped and try and brighten their day up. Hey, Trevor Lawrence, can I buy you a shot? Okay.
All right, let's move into our buy or sell segment here. Let's go ahead and kick it off with you, Package. Are you buying or selling this week?
I'm buying against all odds. I'm buying Zach Wilson to prove that he is the man. Look, we all talked about it this week. If they weren't going to get Kirk Cousins, there's no one else that needs to be playing quarterback for the New York Jets other than Zach Wilson. Sorry, Joe Namath. Tip of the cap to you. But Zach Wilson still is young. He's got arm strength. He's got mobility. And he's got weapons. Come on, Zach. Nathaniel Hackett, get it together. Tailor it up for Zach Wilson. They spring the upset against Mahomes and the Chiefs and hand them their first loss. Come on, baby.
I like the enthusiasm taken. I hope you are right. I would be absolutely obnoxious the rest of the week if they somehow pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, huge game. Zach Wilson can't pull it off. Maybe his confidence level gets a little bit higher and performs for the rest of the season, but I highly doubt it.
All right, KOB, you buying or selling this week?
So I'm actually going to sell. I'm selling kind of hard, and I don't know if I'm selling a person, a player, but I don't know if I'm selling it because I think they need to trade him right now, or just I'm not sold on his talent level, which is going to sound preposterous. But I'm selling Devon Achane for the Miami Dolphins. Scores 4 touchdowns, runs for 203 yards. I mean, fantastic stat line. But who is this dude? And they're up 30 points. Of course he's going to score. I mean, they put anybody's hands, they're going to score. So I think they need to put him on the trading block, sell him on his upside. You got Raheem Mostert in the backfield. You don't need another one of him. What's the point of having 2-star running backs if he's that good? Trade him. Get rid of him. I'm sold. I just don't want him. Like, he needs to go and then maybe get something good out of it. I don't know, unless Mostert goes down. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see the rest of the season. I'm just not sold on his performance. Sorry.
You're gonna get a lot of kickback for that one, I think.
And that's fine.
Yeah. And I know Packers is getting ready to go off. It looks like he's stuck right now, but I when he jumps back in, just be ready.
Yes.
I think he's going to go, oh, here he is. He's coming.
Yeah.
All right, Package. You looked like you're getting ready to unload there. What do you have on that sell?
Was Keaton, were you buying or selling the A-Chain train?
I was selling the A-Chain train.
Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, what did he looked horrible last week. I mean, he has breakaway speed, great vision. I'd sell too. I understand. What are you talking about? Let me tell you something. He's going to score another 2 tutties this week. Mostert's done. He's not even going to be the lead back anymore. It's the A-Chain train that's going to take him over the top. Baby.
Crisp Hundy on the under. 2 touchdowns scored this next week. Two tutties. I'm taking the under for Crisp Hundy, and you can hand deliver that to me also.
Well, I got to get some odds on that. I mean, I maybe misspoke a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe got a little too excited. But
I'm saying,
do I have him on the bench on 3 fantasy squads? Maybe. So I'm pulling for this to be right.
Yes. And does it look right? Yeah. When you're up 50 points, of course it's right. They could have had their freaking center run the ball down that field and score a touchdown. I mean, it's not comparable. 4 touchdowns.
4-2 speed exists whether you're up 7, down 7,
Yeah,
or
they
up
had
40.
they had their damn practice squad playing and defense. I mean, shit.
He needs to come up with a sign like Tyreek's, because he's going to be blowing by everybody for the rest of the year. He's got to do something, I don't know. But come up with something cool. A-Chain Train.
He's sold. I'm out.
Yeah, keep selling. All right, I was gonna jump into this, and I was thinking about selling this week, especially after Namath and his comments on the Jets quarterback situation. But after doing more research and just thinking about this, I'm gonna go ahead and buy, and I'm buying the Houston Texans 2023 draft. That first round action that they went in, going and grabbing CJ, coming back up and get Will Anderson. Both those two guys look like absolute home runs. We talked about CJ a little bit already, but Will Anderson is quick, fast, gets to the football, puts his nose down, and goes out and just gets after it. He's a great team leader. He's got the speed, and I think we have 2 cornerstones for our offense and defense moving forward for the future. And it was an absolute home run. Was I a little worried whenever we first saw it come through for what they gave up to move up? Yes. But the aggression, the see to go up and get your 2 guys from the Texans that we've never seen before, to me stood out. And I just think it was an absolute home run for the first time in a long time from a little bit of aggression from the Texans. So
we found our head coach as well.
And let's see if that can keep us some momentum going forward in the future for the Texans.
I cannot wait for the Houston Texans, an NFL team in H-Town, to be relevant again. And I think we're on finally the right come up. And you say, oh, Deshaun Watson, that was the right. Nah, I don't think it really was the right move, because even then when we had him, we weren't that great. But there's glimpse of life with this Houston Texans football team. I think we have the right head coach. D'Amico Ryans is the man. And so, yes, a round of applause to the Houston Texans front office for everything they did this offseason, because I think we're going the right direction.
Yeah, I agree, and I think D'Amico is a great hire. I think the front office is making the right moves, and cleaned house a little bit, and it's something to look positive for the future of the Texans. Pat, you got anything to add before we take off for the day?
Hey, KOB, did you get that hoodie at the establishment you and I went to about 1 a.m. in New York?
New York. No, actually,
there were some there.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. That makes more sense.
No one cares about all your losers package.
Well,
no one cares
the
about
establishment definitely wasn't a casino. I feel like I'm about to go on a hashtag heat check this weekend. We got some sharp action. Please tune into the plays. I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if I don't go 6-0 on our release plays.
Well, I think that would shock the world if you go 6-0 on those plays released.
Yeah, he already
I was 3-0 in college last week. Little issue in the NFL, but we're just about to hit our stride. Week 3 that's for the public. Week 4, now the sharp action starts to rise to the top, as talent does. So we joke around about Zach Wilson on the bus, but we get to it. Those 6 wagers, they're going to be winners. Tune in.
Yep, absolutely. I like where we're at. We got a huge week ahead of us, Ryder Cup, some great college and NFL football ahead. So keep an eye out on anything we post for plays. Other than that, we had a little longer show than usual, but we had a lot of stuff to cover. So thank y'all for tuning in to the Friendly Wager. We'll see y'all next week with another pod. KOB package. It was fun. We'll see y'all later. See ya.
See ya.